You are listening to the Tri-Quarter Transmissions.
Weekly Trek, Episode 10, 4th week of June, 2018. Weekly Trek is a Tri-Quarter Transmissions podcast network weekly show covering the news and current events in the Star Trek universe, with rotating hosts from the Tri-Quarter Transmission Network. Oh my gosh. Each week, our hosts hand-select Trek news from around the internet and present them to you, our fans, with our analysis. Think of it like the 6 o'clock news, but for Star Trek. Your hosts for this installment of Weekly Trek are the amazing, wonderful, and talented Heather Barker of Shore Leave, DiscoTrek, and many other podcasts in our fandom. How are you, Heather?
I am doing great. 37 days till STLV, so that's 37 days of excitement.
That's right. Woody woot woot. Very exciting. And of course, there's me, John Krikorian, the host of the TrekProfiles podcast, also found on this very network that you are listening to, the Tri-Quarter Transmissions. All right, let's jump into the news for this week. Coming up first in the news this week, we had a brief announcement about a whole series of new books that are appearing in the world of Star Trek. There are these Incredibuilds models book where you punch out the pages out of the book and build a paper model. Very exciting. An updated version of Obsessed with Star Trek. Some kids' books are coming out as well. Little golden books, which I remembered having as a kid. Eagle Moss's Designing Starships book, and, amazingly enough, a book all about Captain Kirk Fu and how to do martial arts Captain Kirk style. Heather, what do you think?
Well, I definitely want to see this Kirk Fu book, just because it sounds hilarious and looks pretty funny. There's some illustrations in the article on Trek Core. But the Golden Book stuff is so cool. I don't have kids, but I might buy this for myself. Super colorful and fun animation. And then I think we need to pick up this Obsessed with Star Trek 27,000 Questions for STLV. I've never seen this book. Have you had it or seen it?
Well, I remembered, now I'm going on memory here, Heather, so I could be wrong, but I seem to recall someone posting in our unofficial group that last year they were going to bring the book and host trivia contests or trivia events, like not, as a formal part of the convention, but, at the back of Quarks or in their room or something, and they were looking for people to get together and do that. I have some vague recollection of that, but I remember it had like this electronic part of it, or there was like a CD with it or something like that. And I saw that in this new version, they're not doing that. It's going to be just a regular paperback.
Good.
But it's even going to have Kelvin timeline stuff in it too. So if that's your bag, you'll have questions in the book too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And I don't know. I know that I probably could not answer all of those questions. I like to pretend that I am an uber nerd and know everything about Star Trek, but let's face it, I don't. People like Jim Morehouse and my friend Claire Little, they are Star Trek encyclopedias. They can probably answer all these questions, but we'll see.
Well, since you brought that up, I do have to point out that you should not underestimate yourself, Heather, because last year at the convention, I don't know if I ever told you the story, if you heard about this, but Jim, Claire, myself, and I think there are maybe 3 or 4 others of our gang, we were attending one of the little panels at the All Access Theater, and Jordan Hoffman comes out to do the Star Trek spelling bee, and they needed another person to enter the contest to have the minimum number. And so I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And I'm like, how far am I going to get in this, right? Because, up against Jim, Claire, and all these other people, I ended up winning.
That's right.
There you go. And there is actually audio of this it was put out as a bonus on the Engage podcast. So if you dig around there, I don't recommend, no one should listen to it, but I just make reference to the fact that there is audio evidence of this event and I'm not making it up.
I remember now. I was not there I was there for when Ian was up. Maybe I was there for parts of it, because I remember Ian from Drawing Trek participated and won some stuff. And then Adam Drosen, who's a great friend of the show and has been on a bunch of our, I think, our TAS episodes and maybe some Shore Leave, he also won some stuff. So maybe they pull the questions from these books. Who knows?
All I can tell you is that when it got down to the final two, it was me and this other young lady. And every single question was so hard that we couldn't answer any of it. And finally, I just said, hey, I think we should both win prizes. and finally, Jordan was like, yes, they should both win prizes. And that was it. So we were co-winners, which made it even more awesome because it's great to share it with another fan.
Love it, love it, love it. All right.
So don't underestimate yourself.
Oh, man, I don't know. Chip and Claire are so smart, and now you're smart, too. Okay.
I don't know. I was just lucky. But the only other thing I want to say about the books is that Kirk Fu book better come with an audio CD with that famous TOS fight music. You know?
Oh, man.
Because I will totally buy it if it comes with that, because that would just be made of win, if you ask me.
I think that's a great idea. It better. If not, then we'll find it on iTunes and play as we read.
Sounds like a good idea. All right. Let's talk about another story. There is an amazing and just surprising crossover comic coming our way. IDW, a Star Trek comic publisher as we speak, is going to be releasing a Star Trek and Transformers crossover, which I find the most delightfully kooky thing I think I've read in all Star Trek this week. And not only will it be Transformers Star Trek, it will be specifically in the style of the animated series art. So this just seems delightfully weird, and I am not normally a comic book guy, but I got to get up in that. What do you say, Heather?
Yeah, and if this is anything like the Magics of Megas 2, which is what it's just so crazy that it makes me think it will be. This is a not to miss selection here, and I think actually that Shashank, one of our hosts of Politreks, is maybe going to be doing some deep dives into these books that will be attached to Weekly Trek at the end of the shows. So now that I've said that and spoiled it for everyone, Shashank has to do it. So yeah, we might have some breakdowns and insight on the way once this book comes out. But I love the animated series. I know I'm in a small group of people there, but it is definitely different. It's still Star Trek to me, and I actually really like the animation on the animated series. So I think this is going to be really neat. And I don't know, as long as it's not Michael Bay Transformers, I'm cool with it.
Well, it actually looks like the Transformers animation is in the 80s cartoon style, which is what I actually saw growing up. I mean, I was all into Transformers, and I had, little toys of it and everything else. And, Optimus Prime, I just thought was the coolest robot of all time. So I just want to see Optimus Prime like on the Enterprise somehow, like in the cargo bay or something. I don't know. And if any of these Transformers transforms into like a shuttlecraft or some sort of Star Trek device, I think I will squee like a tweener girl at a Bieber concert.
Please make the toys, because I will buy that stuff. I mean, yeah, according to the article, it says it is the original 1984 Transformers show that they're basing it off of. So you're right. You're right there. And I was 3 years old when that show came out, but I still played with Transformers when I was small. So I don't think I could pass up having a Transformer starship. That is a major advertising marketing opportunity there, and they better make it happen or I will send letters.
I'm right there with you. My kid has a Voltron toy, which I'm jealous of because I would have wanted that when I was his age and I didn't have it. So I end up playing with it more than him.
Really quick, didn't Leonard Nimoy, wasn't he a Transformer in one of the Michael Bay movies? Was he Optimus Prime?
No, he wasn't Optimus Prime. The guy who did Optimus Prime was, I believe his name, I know his last name was Cullen. I want to say his first name was Michael. I could be wrong about that. But it's the guy who originally voiced Transformers in the 80s.
Okay.
But I believe that he did the voice of one of the bad guys, Megatron.
Okay. All right.
No, wait, that was the, no, it's not Megatron. He did a voice.
Okay.
I am sure he did a voice for one of the movies, but it wasn't Megatron or Optimus Prime. But
Okay.
I'm sure IMDb would know the answer. But yeah, he did a voice.
Well, I'm going to find out. I will Google it, and then if that character is in the comics, I will read it in his voice, like that. Yeah.
Fantastic, because that is absolutely correct and what we should do. Okay, well, in other news, we have an interesting story here that our friends over at Coconut Media Works, otherwise known as the Trek Geeks, Bill and Dan, are launching basically an aggregation site for all Star Trek podcasts, and I believe it's trekpodcast.com. So I think that'll be an interesting way for all Trek fans to find more podcasts and more stuff to listen to. Sounds like a great idea. What do you think, Heather?
Yeah, I mean, it's a super great idea. I'm really excited for Trek Geeks, and I don't know if Jeff has sent them an email yet. I will have to harass him, make sure that all of our shows get on to the website. I curate a Twitter list of Star Trek podcasts, so maybe someday when I have some time, I'll reach out to everyone to make sure that they get there, because like that's where I've been doing it. It's just on Twitter. So now we have a website hosted by two great guys who have two great podcasts, and that will be my landing spot to find all of the Star Trek podcasts for sure.
Me too. All right. Super excited for him. But, Heather, no, this episode of Weekly Trek would not be complete unless we talked about the news bomb that dropped this week. That's the only way to describe it. And we should preface this story by saying this is a follow-up to last week's big news that, of course, we talked about on the last Weekly Trek that Harberts and Berg are out, and Kurtzman is now in charge of all things Star Trek for CBS, and he has now signed a 5-year exclusive deal with CBS, and it's beyond Star Trek. So not only is he now running Discovery, but he is also, CBS has exclusive rights to every single thing he does in the television space for the next 5 years. So they've got him locked up tighter than a drum. So it turns out that there are going to be 5 different things being developed or in production over at CBS that are Star Trek related, plus whatever else Kurtzman has got on the side that he wants to do. So there is currently Discovery, of course, and that will continue. There's a Starfleet Academy series that's going to be run by these two people I'm not that familiar with, Stephanie Savage and Josh Schwartz, who I believe are associated with Gossip Girl, a show that I'd heard about but have never actually seen. There's a top secret limited series with, we don't know what it is, but the only thing we know about it is that it's secret, it's limited, and it's vague, and that's all we know. There's going to be a Wrath of Khan story, and I'm just going to lay down a bet right now that I bet it's going to be an origin story, or Khan as a young man, or Khan trying to take over the world. That's just my own guess. Don't really know. And then some sort of animated show. So Discovery, animated series, secret story we know nothing about, Wrath of Khan story, and animated series. All of this Star Trek coming fast and furious. I don't even know. Heather, tell me what to feel about this.
You should feel that it is a great day to be a Star Trek fan. It is a great time to be a Star Trek fan. And I think that none of this would have happened without the success of Discovery. So despite what anyone wants to believe about Discovery, whether it's good or not, oh, it's behind a paywall, whatever, sorry, it did so well that CBS feels this confident in the future of Star Trek. And look, I have opinions about these different shows, but I'm still excited because it's still more Star Trek, and how can you not be? This Starfleet Academy thing. So I don't know who Stephanie Savage or Josh Schwartz are either. I've never watched Gossip Girl. They did a reboot of Dynasty on the CW. I don't even know if is that still on, really?
I didn't even know it was a thing.
I did not know. I've heard about the Hulu Marvel series Runaways. I've heard it's really great. It's on my list to watch, but I'm currently rewatching DS9 for the 12th time, so priorities. But here's the thing. I really have no interest in a teeny bopper type Star Trek. I know that this idea of a Lower Decks type Star Trek has been passed around, but this is obviously different. This is even, this is it's in the Academy, so it's before being on ships. While it's not something that I would really want to watch, I think that this is just really great because kids are watching these shows, and especially with the success of all these DC and Marvel series, I feel like there's definitely a market to put Star Trek there and to give teenagers and even younger kids something to look up to and aspire to, because what's better than Star Trek for that? So I'm really excited. You've got a kid, John. What do you think he would be really into watching a Starfleet Academy show?
I think he might. I mean, he will be into it if I'm into it, because he's at that age where he wants to do things that I'm interested in. So I'm trying to enjoy that while it lasts, because, then there'll come that age where he won't want to be seen with me anymore. But I think he might watch it. The thing that was interesting to me, though, is that knowing just a little bit of Star Trek history, and I'm talking about Star Trek in the real world, not necessarily in the show, there have been ideas of a Starfleet Academy show thrown around, I want to say, since the 70s.
Yep.
And so this is actually nothing new. This is, I mean, of course, what this looks like in the final version of it will be a little different, but this is very much something that comes right out of Roddenberry's time with Star Trek. So depending on what they do with it, and depending also on how they treat it, right? I mean, it is going to be a Starfleet Academy show, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be focused as a teeny bopper show. I don't know. I don't think we know that yet.
Nope.
We'll just have to see how it comes out. And I think we're going to be suffering an embarrassment of riches here with this renaissance of Star Trek. I mean, with so many things happening, we've got the novels coming out at a furious pace. We've got the IDW comics, which, by the way, I think are really wonderful. If anyone hasn't checked them out yet, I really would recommend them. We have all these new shows coming out. And of course the movies that are currently in development as well.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's too much. I don't even know how to feel about it.
I think so my assumption is that this is not going to all be dropped on us at once. Okay, maybe it's more of a hope. Like, I don't want to. So I didn't experience the franchise fatigue that happened when everything was airing at the same time. With DS9 and Voyager coming on right after TNG ended. So I wasn't living in Trek when that happened. I don't like those words getting thrown around because I don't want people to feel Star Trek fatigue. Like, you should just, yay, it should be a great thing. So I don't know. I've heard rumors or tweets that, people are thinking, well, okay, this series will just be, one season or like a mini series type thing, like the Wrath of Khan story. Maybe it's just a quick mini series, and maybe that will air in the summer when Discovery is filming. I don't know. I
have a suspicion about it.
Yeah.
So some of our listeners may watch Walking Dead, some may not, and you don't have to know anything about the series. But one of the things that they did is the main series called The Walking Dead takes place roughly in Atlanta, in Georgia, and in Virginia. And so in the same universe, you can have multiple simultaneous shows going on at the same time. And that's exactly what they did. So they came out with a new show called Fear the Walking Dead, which takes place on the West Coast. Yeah. And it's pretty much at the same time. And so, but what that means is they alternate the seasons. So typically you'll watch Walking Dead, the season will end, and then boom, right into Fear the Walking Dead. And so I think, this is just me speculating here, that there will always be some sort of Star Trek happening on All Access.
Yep. And that's the point, John, on All Access. That's what I was just going to say, is that although I think people really still want it on, regular cable TV. I mean, I frankly, I will admit that I canceled CBS All Access. Now, it was a financial decision for me just because I'm in a place where if I'm not constantly watching Discovery. It's something I need to cut out of my budget. If it wasn't an issue, I'd still have it, because even just the other day, I'm like, man, I really want to watch some Discovery. But if there was Star Trek, throughout the year, yeah, I'd be paying for it. And they need to do that to really keep those subscribers, because I know I'm not the only one who canceled their membership once Discovery was done.
Yeah, so that's my speculation. Again, we don't know anything, but knowing what we know about business and knowing how subscription programs work, it's no different than what HBO's and Showtime and the rest of these premium networks do. Is they always have to come out with something new to get you to extend the subscription another 6 months, 3 months, a year, or whatever it is. So that's just my speculation on it. I think but on the bright side, that means we'll always be getting some new Star Trek, right? Which, how can that be a bad thing? The only other thing I would say, though, is that because it's on a streaming service, and this is something we talked a little bit about on Trek Profiles, which is that, it's on a streaming service, so you don't have to have appointment viewing. You don't have to, be sitting in front of your, whatever your device is at, 2:00 on a Saturday or whatever time that the show drops. But, those of us who are in the fandom, and I would imagine most of our listeners, we're involved in the social media, we're involved in all these different, venues where we talk to other fans. I think it's going to be impossible to not watch the episodes when they drop.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to have that watch it when you want to experience, because we're all going to have to be sitting there like hitting refresh or whatever, waiting for the episodes to show up, because otherwise we're going to be spoiled 6 ways to Sunday from our friends.
Yep. Yeah. No, there's no way. And I mean, that's just how we are, Star Trek fans like us. We're just crazy and rabid for Star Trek. And yeah, there's no way that I would wait. This past season, anytime that I was delayed, I was just an anxious wreck, and I had to avoid social media at all costs so that it, wouldn't spoil things. So I'm excited as to what's going to happen. We don't have a time frame for this. We don't know when these shows are coming. And we've heard the rumors about, Nick Myers with the Wrath of Khan. So I assume that he, that's his project, this Wrath of Khan that they're talking about here. And I know he hasn't really said a whole lot about that. But then we have this vague book series, and I'm going to go out on a limb and speculate if this vague book series that we know nothing about could potentially be linked to Patrick Stewart and the rumors swirling about around bringing back Captain Picard. Did you guys talk about that last week? I can't remember, about the initial rumors that just sort of sounded like old man Patrick Stewart was like, oh yeah, there's a movie coming out soon, and I may have another reason to go to the studio or something like that. It was kind of you're like, okay, there's not a movie coming out soon, so what's going on?
It was so vague, Heather, that we just, it was like, oh yeah, Patrick Stewart said a thing.
Yeah.
That's it,
And kind of a weird thing. I mean, there's not a movie coming out anytime soon. Like, yes, there are movies on the horizon, but there's no movie coming out soon. So I was kind of like eyebrow raised there. But it's seeming more and more like this may be a reality with it happening. How do you feel about potentially seeing Captain Picard again and Patrick Stewart as Captain Picard?
Well, the only thing I will say about I'll say 2 things. First of all, love Sir Pat. Happy to see him working, and always a delight to see him on screen in anything that he's doing. I would literally sit there and watch him read out of the encyclopedia. It would be dramatic and fun and delightful. So, there's no negative element whatsoever to more Sir Pat. Having said that, if they're going to revisit Captain Picard in some way with him, I look forward to the gnashing of teeth of all the people who are obsessed about Star Trek canon, who are trying to reconcile all the episodes and the timeline and where was Captain Picard when this happened and how will they handle his marriage with Beverly and whatever happened to Lore or before, and is that Data, and will we see what happened? Will they resolve all this stuff? And the canonistas, I think, are going to have aneurysms. I don't think there's any way around it.
They're already having aneurysms. And Sure. I'm not a canonista, and I'm not picky about my Star Trek. I was excited for Discovery. Excited for all the JJ movies. I didn't know what was coming, and aside from Into Darkness, and look, there's parts of Into Darkness that I really like. I'm not overly critical about Star Trek when it's put in front of me, because we all know there's good Trek and there's bad Trek. That's just the life of Star Trek. I think that, you're not going to be able to make Patrick Stewart a young Picard. So the only way I can really see anything happening is potentially doing a flashback type thing. I can't imagine what story would be set with Picard as an old man, and that being the entire show about, Admiral Picard, or who knows whatever he would be. I'm just not quite sure what to expect from it, but hey, I'll see Captain Picard again, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe that'll be the show. Maybe it'll be like a Charlie's Angels type of scenario, minus all the weird 70s stuff. But he'll be Charlie, and except not appearing over a speakerphone, but he'll be sending off maybe other Starfleet people on missions and coordinating behind the scenes, or dealing with political Starfleet stuff. Yep. I mean, there could be there's all kinds of stories there, right? And I think that's one of the directions that I think Star Trek has been going for a long time. This is something that I talked about with a couple of my guests on the show, which is when Star Trek began, it was all about being on a ship, going out there, right? Going out. And then you have TNG, which is more of that. And then you had Deep Space Nine. Well, they're not boldly going anywhere. They're hanging out on a space station, right? I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that's what it was. And Voyager is about the exact opposite. It's not about going out there. They're trying to get back here.
Yep.
So, there's this long history of Star Trek, sort of twisting its own paradigm around, right? So I'm more than happy to make space in my intellectual headcanon for a show that's maybe based at a Starbase or at Starfleet Command or at Starfleet Academy, or, whatever it happens to be, and maybe tell stories from that perspective. I think that, Star Trek is more of a development platform than anything else. And so I think they could make it work, and I'm open to it.
Absolutely. Agree. We'll see what happens. It's great news. It's more Star Trek, and I can't help but be excited about that. And I'm looking forward to speculating about all the ideas of what it could be at STLV here in a month.
All right. Well, I am excited, and I'm excited to see you and all of our other friends from Tricorder and all of our amazing listeners that we've been interacting with on the Twitter and on Facebook and all the other venues where we hang out. I think it's just going to be a fantastic time. So we are super jazzed. But speaking of STLV, we should talk about some of the things that we have coming up for STLV from Tricorder Show. And Heather, you're in charge of this, so why don't you give us a quick breakdown of what we're going to be doing?
Ooh, fun. Okay, so on Wednesday night of the convention, which is August 1st, we are having essentially a private party. It is our Tricorder Transmission's 5th birthday bash.
Woot woot.
Yeah, super excited. Thanks to you and our good friend William Conlon, we have rented a suite for the evening. So just thank you for that, because that's super awesome. I love having a more intimate venue to really be able to talk to our friends without having to yell over the bar noise.
Yeah, last year at the iBar wasn't so great. I mean, it was great to be with everybody, but it just wasn't a good venue.
Yeah. I do want to make it clear that the party is open to friends in the network, our listeners, especially our Patreon family, because it is a suite. We only have so much space, so I'm hoping that by inviting everyone, we're not going to have like a line out the door or anything. We want to keep it intimate, but we don't want to turn people away either. But I think that Barry is going to be doing some couch trek that he's talked about, I think, here on WeeklyTrek, as well as Politirex. And on your show, John, I think he talked all about how couch trek was invented in his childhood on Trek Profiles. It's hard. It's like he's your first guest. It feels so long ago, even though it wasn't.
Yeah, back at the dawn of time, 4 months ago.
Seriously. Precisely. So we will have Couch Trek. I think we're going to have some Cards Against Humanity hosted by you.
Yeah, my Star Trek Cards Against Humanity, because I write my own Star Trek cards and I fold them into the deck. So it's a mix of like the original game with some Star Trek cards thrown in, and you never know when they're going to show up. That's what I can tell you.
Yep. So that we're going to have cake. We're going to maybe have some snacks, kind of a BYOB type of thing, but it's going to be fun, and we're really, really happy to have a nice intimate space to have this party. So that's happening on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And then on Saturday night, we are hosting our Night of Diversity party. And we actually just found out today that we have booked the venue. It is going to be located in the KISS Mini Golf. So we'll have some more information when it gets closer exactly where it is, because it's
Heather?
Yeah.
Will we rock and roll all night and party every day? I
think so. I mean, I'm planning on it. And it's going to be pretty awesome. This is a charity event. So Night of Diversity, it's a little centric to the LGBTQ plus community, but it is Night of Diversity. So it means pretty much everybody. We just wanted to have a party that was A, free, and B, a safe, positive space for everyone to come. Here at the Tricorder Transmissions, that's our lifeblood, is providing safe, positive spaces for the Star Trek community. So we will be doing raffles all night. There are some really awesome prizes that are available. Lee Sargent, who's a Star Trek artist, who's doing the Star Trek 365. I know a lot of our listeners and friends are big fans of his. He just donated a piece. We've got Laz Marquez, who will be at Star Trek Las Vegas for the first time. He's a really great artist. He's done a bunch of Discovery art. I follow him on Twitter. He'll be a guest on Shore Leave coming up, and he has donated some art. So there's so much that's going to be there. And our own DJ, our great friend Eric Erickson, will be DJing. So it's going to be a super, super awesome party. Bring your money for raffle tickets, because all the proceeds will go to benefit charity. We have 2 charities picked out right now, but we're still finalizing details. So once we have that, I'll announce who they are.
Heather, that is awesome. I am so excited for all these great things that we have planned for all our patrons and listeners and friends of the network. It's going to be a great time at STLV. And so that there's also a lesson there, which is that if you are enjoying our shows, this or any of the shows on our network, we have so many, consider becoming a patron of the network by visiting patreon.com/the Tricorder Transmissions. You'll learn about all the great stuff we have to offer, including some early access and cutting room floor, bonus material, unedited episodes, and all kinds of other great things. Oh, and Patreon Hangouts. So, and our very next Patreon Hangout will be July 17th at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern Time in the evening. So that's on the schedule. It's going to be a blast. We hope that all of you who are patrons can join us for that. If you are interested, check your Patreon emails for details. All right, that is all the Trek news we have to share with you this week. But if you'd like to continue the conversation, please visit us on the Twitter at WeeklyTrek and online at thetricordertransmissions.com. But Heather, if our listeners want to engage with you, what's the best way they should do that?
The best way is the Twitterverse, and I am at LLAPosper, which is LLAPAWSPER.
Outstanding. And if people want to interact with me, they can find me at my show account at Trek Profiles on Twitter. And I'm also on the Facebook and on the internet at trekprofiles.com. But if that's my show account, which is almost entirely Star Trek related, if you want to follow my personal account, which is like half Star Trek, a little bit of Golden Knights, some Vegas stuff, and whatever other weirdness and fun I can find around the internet, that's at JKinLV. So you're welcome to follow me and engage with me there. And that is all the news we have for this week. We'll be back next week with more news from around the Trekverse. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, and all the sentient races of the Federation, live long and prosper.